Well, this is one of my favorite time of the week, the last half hour on the show, and we get to hang with Wayne and Wayne, which means I get books and TV suggestions for the weekend. And of course, we start with Wayne Button. Good morning, Wayne.
Good morning, Rebecca. How's life going?
Well, life is going well. How about you? I mean, we've just moved into Alert 3. You're a book lover. You're also a chiropractor. You got back to work. How's it going?
Good, really busy. I'm even going to be coming in on Saturdays for patients and stuff. But, I can't complain. Like I said to my wife, I haven't had 3 months off since kindergarten, so it's okay.
Well, I'm glad you carved some time for us this morning because we appreciate you here. So you pick another nonfiction for this week. Can you introduce it to us?
Yeah, so this week I decided to review Being Human, an unrepentant memoir of a disabled rights activist by Judith Heumann, actually. First thing that really stands out about the book when you get it is it's big. And the writing in it is giant. And I thought about it after I got the book. I was like, oh, I totally understand why she did this. She wanted the book to be more accessible for people visually impaired. So it's a cool aspect of the book that I really liked, and it made me think, I don't know why more books aren't like that so people visually impaired can read them easier. But yeah, no, that was a great feature that stood out right away.
It actually was preaching right into even the book, the message that's inside the book.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, it was good because I really wanted to read it because obviously now there's a lot of tension with the Black Lives Matter movement. A lot of people know about the civil rights movement and things like that, the Me Too movement. But we don't really, I feel, as a society, give enough attention to the disabled people and some of the rights that they had to fight for as well. And this is why I really wanted to read about Judith Heumann. And she had a really interesting story. She knew how to play the system really well. I mean, she couldn't even get into a school in New York until grade 4 because they had like specialty schools at that time for disabled. And the way she described it, they were even in the basement of the school. So they were really secluded. And she didn't even get into like a normal school until like she was in high school. And like they used to do stuff like give them nap time and stuff like that. And she was really disgusted by it because someone who was in grade 4 would have the same type of education as someone who was 20 because they were disabled. So she really wanted to change that. And she went on actually to become a teacher. She was first denied being a teacher because she was in a wheelchair. They were saying that it was because of medical reasons or because of safety issues. And she actually brought the New York Board of Education to court, and to court, and end up winning. So it was like her first big activist role, and she ended up becoming a teacher in the end. So it was good.
It's kind of crazy, the struggle to get to a teacher position. How did you find that book? Like, I mean, where did you hear about it?
Yeah, so I found this book. Trevor Noah, on his show, actually had her on to speak about the book, and it really, like I said, popped out to me right away because, there's tons, especially like this week, getting a lot of attention with the Black Lives Matter and stuff, but I never ever read anything about a disabled activist, so it really interests me, and it's something different that I want to take on.
And who would you recommend it to?
This I'd recommend to anybody really who considers himself to be an activist, but also, maybe for parents or loved ones that have someone disabled and people disabled themselves, because they might be able to read it and be like really motivated to see how much Judy Heumann did, going from not even being able to be a teacher to actually eventually working with some of the presidents. So it's a great motivator read, and it's a great, knowledgeable read, too, for people who, aren't aware of some of these issues that the disabled face.
Well, thank you, Wayne. I feel like we got to let you go to the office. You don't want to let patients wait.
Yeah, that's right. I got to get back to work, yeah.
Yeah, all right. Well, thank you so much for being there.
Thanks a lot, Rebecca. I appreciate it.
And this week, book suggestion from Wayne Button is Being Human by Judy Heumann.
Did we do anything after this?
Funny feeling we did.
We were watching TV. Watching TV. We were watching TV. Watching TV.
Well, we're going to talk about TV, but not watch it right now with Wayne Walsh. Good morning, Walsh. Wayne.
Good morning, Rebecca. How are you?
Good, good. So you're making us watch some country this week. Tell us about your suggestion.
Yeah, this week I tried to focus on something a little bit different, where I did a couple of serious things, a sports thing, and I was just trying to look out for to see what would interest people more than myself, and I became a fan real quick. I went looking around, and I found a Garth Brooks documentary, and for anyone who's less than 20 or 30, that was a huge name for us growing up, and The Road I'm On is the name of the show. It's on Netflix. It's produced by A&E, and it just takes him from being a young man to deciding his future to a bunch of events along the way that formed who he was. For people who don't really know who he is or don't know how big he actually was, he's behind the Beatles for most albums sold. It's unbelievable what he did for country music and the genre, completely changing it around the world.
And we have a little bit of a sneak peek, so let's have a listen to what it sounds like, that documentary.
If you think the hardest times in your life to challenge yourself, music is behind you, think again. I love having the history that we have, but the history's in the past. Do not ever think that what we've done is good enough. This is going to be the roughest tour you've ever been on.
Come on! Come on! Yeah!
We want to be big. We want to be loud. You only got one shot at it. Let's get to work.
Finish it! Finish it!
So Garth Brooks with The Road I'm On, and he's this icon, but yet we just heard he's not about to sit on that glory that he's established.
No, him as an artist is unbelievable, the journey he took. I kind of thought about Michael Jordan when I was watching this, because everybody talks about Michael Jordan and how he didn't make his first team, and he went back and he practiced and tried harder. What people don't know about Garth Brooks that I didn't myself know is that he played in a small town. He was just making money, and his town people, Stillwater, decided to raise money and send him to Nashville. He didn't last 24 hours before he was back home, hiding in his mom's basement. It took a long while for him to get back out, but he had a determination to carry on with it. He became one of the biggest artists in the world, bringing country music to Dublin, Ireland being one of his biggest ones, but knowing that that's more of a U.S. thing, being country music, to bring that across the world was unimaginable. And what makes this story even greater is that during his time of being the biggest country artist in the world, he gave it all up. He gave it up for 14 years just to raise his kids. His marriage didn't work out, but they got together and they did it for their kids for 14 years. They spent every morning, every evening swapping back and forth. They've seen their kids every day for the whole 14 years he took a break. And then to come back in the last couple of years, he's still selling out tours. He's even doing better than he was in the 90s. But everybody who's ever been to a bar is sang along with Friends in Low Places at one time or another, or Know the River, or some of his big hits. But the video and the show actually brings out what kind of man he actually was. He was determined, focused, and something that Jordan always said is that when someone came to watch Jordan always thought, they need to see the best that they have of me. And Garth Brooks brought that same kind of mentality to the stage, that once he goes on the stage, he doesn't do it for him anymore. It's for the people. And he wants to make sure that they have one of the best experiences they can when they pay money to see him, and he doesn't disappoint.
Were you a country fan before you started watching that?
No, definitely not. Now, I remember growing up and hearing the songs on the radio, but I'm a typical Jimi Hendrix, Nirvana growing up. And even during this documentary, to see something amazing that happened with this guy is that when Michael Jackson, he would go to number one with Ropin' in the Wind album, but then Michael Jackson would release an album, and he would drop to number two for that week, and then after that week released, he would go back to number one. And he actually ended up doing this with Nirvana, U2, Michael Jackson, some of the biggest names that people do know. And when he's very proud that it's 16 weeks at number one, but not consecutively. So people would try the new music and then go back to his. And at that time, I was probably listening to Nirvana more than Garth Brooks. Now I'm a little older. It's a little bit, my genre's widening out a bit, and I wasn't disappointed with this documentary.
Now, I understand the documentary is in two parts. I mean, do you need to clear some stuff in your schedule to really, listen to it all at once, or how did you do it?
I did it over 2 nights. Again, we always speak how I live a family life with 2 young kids, so I only get a couple hours in the evening to do everything I need to do. So it's good to be able to put away an hour and a half, and mostly talks about how his career grew up in the first part and how he made it so big. And in the second part, the realism comes back to Garth Brooks as a person, even touching on the Chris Gaines phase where he put out an album that seemed like pop, and everybody spoke badly of this album, even though it sold 2 million records. But what they did was they put the soundtrack out before a movie that he was supposed to star in, and they never ended up making the movie, so it made it look like it was an off-kilter pop try by Garth Brooks. And he takes a lot of flack for that, even though his wife says, she's quoted saying, if anyone talks badly about that, I want to punch him in the face, because it's one of her favorite albums. And he says, if you don't like the album, you probably never heard it. So they touch on everything, the bad stuff, the divorces, the raising of the kids, the good stuff, to his failures, to right now where he's coming back, and he's probably going to be touring the world again. I wouldn't be surprised.
After coronavirus. Well, thank you, Wayne. That may, I might just go and tune into that.
Oh, you're welcome. It's just different. I'm trying to spread out a little bit of variety for people who actually listen, and anyone who grew up or still likes country music, he's one of the kings of country for this generation.
He sure is. And I'm going to play a song now. Thank you, and we'll talk to you next week.
For sure. Thank you very much. Have a good day, Rebecca.
You too. Well, the Canadian